If you haven't noticed, the other camera that we have
but it is delicious. So anyway, sorry to make anyone jealous who doesn't have that with them. Hey, I'm just here today to say welcome and thank you for serving on this committee. There are some big committees that every district has, and this is one of them. I can be in a conference with superintendents from all over the country. And when you ask them about the calendar committee, everyone goes, "Oh, that's a big committee." So thank you for choosing to be part of this. It is one of those certainly thankless jobs that no one really knows about until it's time to put our calendars together. And it is a really, really important part of what we do. And when we think about how we support schools and students and parents and all the thought that goes into the work that you do, it's pretty remarkable. So again, thank you for serving on this committee. Thank you for your support to public education, and even more importantly, thank you for your support of Peoria schools. So I will turn it back over to Miss Airy, and I'm going to leave the call and get ready.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Reynolds. Thank you for taking some time today to be with us, and welcome everyone. I know you're very, very busy, so we just appreciate having you with us. And I know we've had some additional team members who have joined us today. As I shared when we kind of got started here, I'm Danielle Airy. For those of you who have just joined us, I'm the district's Chief Communications Officer, and I also am the liaison from the district that will be facilitating our work as we go through our committee work for the day. You should have had a few materials that I emailed to you. If you don't have easy access to them, not to worry. I will be pulling them up for us as we go through our meeting today. I wanted to let you know that because we are virtual, we are streaming our meeting today. A couple of housekeeping items relative to that. I do have my camera on. As you can see, I see that none of you have your camera on. That is fine. You can leave your camera just as you have it. That does typically help with the bandwidth. So certainly it's pulling a lot of bandwidth as we turn on our cameras. And so as you go to speak, please feel free to mute and unmute yourself. I will be making sure to keep everybody muted just for the sake of minimizing some of that background noise. But if you would go ahead and unmute yourself before you speak, and you are welcome to turn the camera at that time when you speak as well. If you've not used Teams before, there is a bar along the top of your screen where you can mute and unmute there. I would also like to welcome, we're going to go around and just very, very briefly, if you'd like to turn on your camera and share your name and your affiliation with our district, whether you're a parent, a community member, or a staff member, and what you do, we will quickly go around and do that just so we can make our way through our agenda as efficiently as possible. But if we can begin, I see that one of our governing board members has joined us, Mrs. Monica Ceja Martinez. And as one of 5 members of our governing board, we do always have a member that is assigned to this committee and that kind of serves as a liaison as well. And so we're thrilled that Mrs. Ceja Martinez asked to be the one from the board, the representative from the board, to serve on this committee. Mrs. Ceja Martinez, I'm hopeful we've got you all set up and that you were able to unload that Starbucks order. Would you like to say hello to the team?
I do. Thank you so much. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you.
Fabulous. I was having some technical difficulties with our laptop, so I switched over to my phone. And welcome, everybody. First of all, this has been quite an experience. We have grown together, and this calendar committee is my second time of hearing where all these new voices and parents and where we go in the future. Bottom line, it is a good experience, and just to learn from all of you what you want to see what it looks like. So that's it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. If we can quickly kind of go around the room, and if it's okay, I will maybe call on you so you know to unmute. If we could maybe begin with Ronnie.
Good day. I am Ronnie Cope. I am a high school math teacher here at Cactus High School, and I teach 4 sections of Algebra 1 year long.
Thank you, Ronnie. Amanda?
Hi there, I'm Amanda Wall, and I have 4 children. My oldest has graduated from Liberty and is at ASU this year. And then I have a daughter who's a junior at Liberty, and then 2 boys, a 5th grader and a 7th grader at Lake Pleasant.
Thank you. Bernadette?
Hi, I'm Bernadette Holiday. I teach kindergarten at Alta Loma.
Kindergarten, wow. Thank you. Thanks for what you're doing. Kelly Fenderson Gonzalez. We have 2 Kellys, actually. Can you hear me, Kelly? Oh, not present yet. Let's see. We'll try to get Kelly connected. I'm not sure why she is not connecting. We'll see if I can kind of find another way to add her in. Julie Garretson, are you with us, Julie?
Hi, my name is Julie Garretson. I have 2 daughters. One graduated from Liberty last year, and the other one is a sophomore at Liberty this year.
Thank you. And Kelly Kincaid?
Hello, everyone. I am Kelly Kincaid. I'm the Deputy Director of Neighborhood and Human Services, and I also have a child that attends Peoria High School. Welcome.
Thank you, Kelly. Thanks for joining us. Jill?
Hi, I'm Jill Millerani. I have 4 children. 2 have graduated and 2 are in elementary school, and I'm also the president of the Peoria United Parent Council.
Thank you for joining us. Dawn?
Hi, I'm Dawn Kennedy. I work at Foothills Fine Arts Academy, and I teach 6th grade science and math.
Thank you, Dawn. Ray?
Hi, everybody. I'm Ray Connolly. I'm the principal at Sunset Heights Elementary School, and it's exciting to see so many people that I worked with at Alta Loma, Frontier, people that, parents from here, from Sunset Heights, and of course, our friends at the district office. So I'm happy to be part of this committee.
Thank you, Mrs. Connolly. Let's see, Ashley.
Hi, I'm Ashley Worrell. I'm the director of the Kids Zone program, which is the before and after school program for the district. I also have 2 daughters that attend at Desert Valley.
Thank you. And Rebecca Slater.
Hi there, Rebecca Slater, principal at Cheyenne Elementary, and I have 2 kids that attend Zuni Hills. Nice to see you all.
Thank you. And let's see, Kelly Fenderson Gonzalez, are you able to hear us? I'm not sure if we got you connected. Oh, finishing up a work piece. Okay, she I think will join us here shortly, so we'll maybe come back with her in just a little bit. But Ronnie, thank you for your help. Leave it to our teachers who have been using this system for many months now, and who really are the experts on supporting everybody on here. So thank you so much, Ronnie. Amy. Amy Cope, are you with us? Copeland, I'm sorry. I see that she's connected. I'm not sure if she can hear us. We will maybe support her with getting logged in there. I see her typing. Hold on one moment. We'll give her just a second here as she's getting connected. And Amy, maybe while you are getting connected there, she might be having some trouble with the sound. I know we have Erin with us too. Hi, Erin.
Hi, everyone. My name is Erin Dunsey. I'm the communications manager. I serve on Danielle's team here in the public relations department. I am also the proud parent of 2 Sunset Heights students in our district.
Thank you, Erin. And Erin will be taking minutes for us. So I've asked her to help us by taking minutes from the meeting today. I'm going to check one last time so we can get to those introductions. If not, maybe Kelly and Amy, if you want to type an introduction into the chat, you could certainly do that and introduce yourselves. And we will acknowledge those when they come through, or maybe revisit at the end of the meeting, and maybe we've worked out some of those sound or microphone issues. I'm going to go ahead and pull up and share our agenda, just in case you didn't have an opportunity to see it. I'm hoping that I'm pulling up the right document here. You should be able to see my screen there. And so we've called the meeting to order, gone through our welcome and introductions. For the remainder of their time, you can see there, we are going to talk through Arizona's open meeting law, discuss the process for calendar committee, our expectations and timeline, review some of the past work that has been done with the calendar committee and the approved calendars, and then we'll talk about future meeting dates and times and kind of future agenda items. Just also as an aside, we will begin our meetings on time, and we will try very hard to be respectful of your time and to get you out of here, or out of the virtual meeting at least by 5 p.m. to be respectful. Oh, Mona, I missed you. I apologize, Mona. I skipped right over you. Do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself? I'm sorry, Mona.
Hi, I'm Mona. I'm the payroll manager. I don't have kids in the district, but I'm so excited to be on this committee. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Mona. And Mona is representing our classified staff team members by serving. So we appreciate you very much, Mona. And I see Amy typed into the chat. Amy Copeland, proud parent of a student at Cotton Bowl, as well as 3 graduates from Raymond S. Callis. So thank you, Amy. We appreciate that. Appreciate you joining us. So we're going to move on in our agenda then, if we can, and I'm going to talk you through very briefly, really kind of an abbreviated version of Arizona's open meeting law. The reason this is important is that this is a committee of the governing board, meaning that we are serving as kind of an extension of the governing board, meaning that we are required to follow Arizona's open meeting law. So if you are not familiar with Arizona's open meeting law or what that means, I will pull up here for you. Let's see. Pull up 930. Here you go. Let's see. It's working through. Pull up a presentation and just kind of walk you through a little bit about that. The first kind of core thing that you need to know is that meetings of a public body are required to be held in public, meaning that we have to provide access to our community to participate in that meeting by understanding what it is that we're discussing. And so that's really what those 2 statutes that you see there before you, what those are referencing. referencing. This is important because, well, really for a number of reasons. First of all, to protect the public, that we're not making decisions in secret, to make sure there's accountability and that we are acting responsively and responsibly by providing them with access to what it is that we're discussing. There's a number of other reasons that this is important, but because of open meeting law, there's some really key steps that we have to take in order to conduct our business. So we have to properly notice our community that we are holding this meeting. So meaning at least 24 hours in advance of the meeting, we have to post the meeting in an official spot, and for our school district, it is out in front of our district office. We also take that a step further and we post our meetings for our community on our website, and the public has access to that on our website. So that's the notice that we provide in case they're wanting to participate. We have to prepare an agenda, which we have done. And then we do, as I mentioned, have to take minutes and then share those minutes with our community. So this is, again, to kind of make sure that our community can be informed. It builds trust between us and the community when we can provide them with access. So as I shared with you, anyone who is serving in an advisory committee of a official body like our governing board has to make sure that they are in compliance with Arizona's open meeting law. There's a couple of statutes that you'll see included in there, and you can certainly go in and take the opportunity to kind of look those up as you see fit. I wanted to kind of give you a high-level overview of that law and that we'll be following it. What all of this means, or really what it all whittles down to, is we will need to stick with what is on our agenda as we conduct our business, meaning that anything that we talk about needs to be relevant to the specific agenda item that we're on. So we'll have to go through and follow that. That's why I want to give you an opportunity at the end of the meeting. I, of course, took liberty to kind of design an introductory meeting for us today to make sure we could post that agenda for our community. But at the end, I want to make sure you have an opportunity, if there's something that we need to address, that you share it with me so I can get it on the agenda for our next meeting so that we can properly post that for our community. Before I move on, is there anyone that has any questions related to open meeting law or really what this means for the work of this committee? And you can either turn your camera on to indicate you have a question. Up at the top, there's a little hand print that's right next to the chat feature. You can click on that to kind of raise your hand if you'd like. Oh, Mrs. Ceja Martinez, I see you have your hand up. Can you hear me?
There we go. It is a slow process over here. I was testing it out, but two, in regards to notifying the community as a result of COVID, there is a heightened awareness of any decisions we make. Is there a different process or additional strategies we are going to use to notify the public more than just putting it on the website?
So what we're trying to do with our notifications is keep them consistent with how we have notified our community of any business, because that's really what we're doing, is conducting business right now on behalf of the governing board. So what we're trying to do is make sure that we keep that consistent with how our other committees have operated and continue to operate so that we can properly conduct our business while providing that access. So certainly we keep our community up to date in a number of different ways. We shared with our community that we've got a calendar committee forming. If you're interested, here's how you can participate. And so as we go through the process, we'll continue to keep them updated, not just on our work, but how they can give input on our work. And so that's coming up later in our agenda as we kind of talk a little bit about surveys, if that's something that this committee might be interested in the future.
Excellent. Thank you for that.
Does that help?
And, as the new community members, there we go, tongue-tied, have any ideas on how your ears are to the community? If there are any ideas to try a different way, please let us know, as this is ever-evolving environment. So thank you so much, Danielle and group.
Thank you. So are there any other questions about open meeting law? Okay, well, I'll move along then, and we can talk now on our agenda. We'll move on to item 4, process for our calendar committee, expectations and timeline. And just of a quick verification, if somebody could turn on their camera and give me a thumbs up if they are still seeing my screen. I just want to verify. Yes? Thank you. Okay, so we are convening as part of the Governing Board's Policy ICA. And Policy ICA, in essence, says that the Governing Board will seek input from a district calendar committee in order to establish the school calendar. It goes on to say that it will be approved in a 3-year, I like to refer to it as like 3 years of rolling calendars, and that this work gets completed before November 15th of each year. So the way that this works, I think, is more easily explained with a chart that you are looking at right now, which is part of the regulation that corresponds with this governing board policy. If you follow it along the top, and if you see the years, you would see that this could, in a cycle, continue on in perpetuity. So we could continue to add years across there and follow this same kind of ABB pattern. So right now, our work, as approved by the board, they've called us together that we would develop and recommend to them, to the governing board, the 2022, 2023, 22-23, 23-24, and 24-25 school calendars. We will then present that to the governing board per the policy. That would take place prior to November 15th. And then the governing board's responsibility per that policy would be to first review and ratify next school year's calendar, because that's work that they do every year, even though they have previously approved that calendar as part of the last cycle of calendar committee work. But they will then approve your work for the 22-23, 23-24, and 24-25 school calendars. You'll then see that next year the committee doesn't necessarily need to reconvene again, but that the governing board completes that same process or cycle each year of reviewing and ratifying the next school year's calendar. So it's almost like it's one more opportunity, even though they have previously approved it, to go back, look at it again, make sure that everything looks as it should, and ratify that calendar so that the school district can start to plan all of the work that they do that goes into preparing for a new school year and a new set of our students. So that's the purpose of our committee. That's the purpose of our work, is that we will hopefully through some consensus kind of come up with and present to the board our best recommendation for 3 more years of school calendars. So the expectation in that is that we will work as a team to kind of go through and do that collectively. A proposed timeline that I share with you all, and then I will pause to make sure that we've got understanding on the purpose of our work and a timeline to get that work done. Now, today would be our first committee meeting. I've tentatively scheduled for us a meeting next Wednesday on October 7th, hoping that that is a date and a time that works for you, but we can talk about that when we get towards the end of our agenda item, if we need to move any of these dates. And then if this committee is sharing, as past committees have, that they want to once again go to our community and survey our community, I've proposed that we begin a survey October 9th and conclude it on the 16th, so that then on October 21st, we could go through, look at what the community is sharing with us or providing to us in order to make a recommendation, and then noting that it would have to be presented to the governing board for approval November 12th in accordance with policy, since it does have to be approved by November 15th of each year. Now, this is a proposal. It's just to make sense out of our work between now and when it does need to go to the board on November 12th. It is certainly open for your feedback. You could say, yes, absolutely survey. We need to include that in there. No, don't survey. That is entirely up to you. I'm simply basing this proposal off of what past calendar committees have suggested has been helpful once this team comes together. I'm going to pause there and just check in for understanding and to see thoughts on what you've learned and maybe thoughts on going forward. And then I see Ray, you've got your hand up.
There's a little typo on October 16th. I think that should say community survey closes, correct?
You are right. Thank you. We will note that for the minutes. Yes, thank you. Closes. Any other questions about our purpose or the work we'll be doing or the timeline in order to accomplish the work? I see a note in the comments and in the chat, and you're welcome to use the chat. Julie is doing a great job modeling that, giving some feedback there. She says timeline sounds good to me. I see Kelly is typing. And I won't force any further feedback out of you if, that is seeming to be, what would work. It sounds like Amy, Kelly agreed, timeline works. We like the survey. It looks like Don and Becky are typing. So while you're maybe typing in that chat, I'll just kind of add in related to expectations. Again, seeing that we're following open meeting law and trying to stick to our agenda, that would be the expectation, is that we follow open meeting law. I just ask that as we're sharing different ideas, that we are respectful of one another and we listen to understand the lens through which other team members are sharing their insight, their feelings, their opinions. We may kind of approach this from some different areas. Thank you all for the feedback. I see it coming in strong there. That's great. So those are just a couple of the expectations to get to our work that I would throw out there to you all. I also want to open it up to you. Does anybody else have any other kind of norms or expectations that you'd like to make sure we consider for this group? And I see a little feedback in our chat as I'm pausing. Mrs. Slater noting that the 7th may be challenging due to parent-teacher conferences. That's right. Next week is parent-teacher conferences week. And I might note that maybe we discuss maybe making a change to that date when we get to agenda item number 7, if that works for you. And I also on that agenda item want to discuss if you would like to consider virtually or if you would prefer that we meet in person. I did schedule this one virtually just to gather us all together quickly and to be respectful of where everybody is coming at this given our pandemic, but we can certainly discuss if you'd like to meet in person or for the sake of time, even if virtually is better for you all. So thank you for pointing that out, Becky. We'll come back to you. We'll come back on that one if we could when we get to agenda item 7. Any other questions before we move on to agenda item number 5? Okay. Well, I will move on to agenda item number 5 then, is reviewing our current school calendar. And we do have a few returning members on this committee that have been on the committee and served before. So in just a moment, I may ask a couple of you if you might want to travel back in time a little bit from when you made the decisions and recommendations that you've made that you should see in front of you. And that is our current school calendar, 2021. What we mean when we say recommending a school calendar is what it will end up looking like before you. And so probably you've all seen this calendar. It lives on the Peoria Unified website. It indicates the start date for school, most importantly, as well as the end date for school. It also includes any holidays that are observed as well as any breaks that are included. We have included on the calendar before you the start date, an observance in September for Labor Day, an observance for, first of all, parent-teacher conferences, as Mrs. Slater brought up. And then we have October 12th, which is Columbus Day. In November, you'll see Veterans Day as the 11th, and then fall break, which has been one of the more interesting and livelier discussions that this group, as well as our community, often likes to have as it relates to school calendar, and that falls over the week of Thanksgiving. You'll then see December, where we have our winter break. January, we have Martin Luther King observance. February, President's Day, and another round of parent-teacher conferences, spring break, as well as an April break. I'll note that other release days, I see there's some information in the chat there. We could certainly bring those forward, but I do want to make sure you know that that is not something that the governing board approves as part of your work. So like the modified, used to be modified Mondays, modified Wednesdays. Thank you so much for bringing that up. Mrs. Melarani, that is not part of our work to set any of those releases other than noting when parent-teacher conferences would fall. There is also calendar policy and law, really, that says that we must have 180 days of instruction or the equivalent amount of minutes to equal 180 days of instruction. So that's where you can see, if you look on this page, under the center column of months at the bottom where it says first semester, second semester, it has also been really important to this team, and it's very important for our schools that we do our best out of those 180 days to balance the semesters as much as possible. I know we have a couple from the high school that are here with us that would likely recognize the significance or the importance of balancing semesters. That's because students at the high school level in particular might take a class that is first semester only, and then another class that is second semester only. And so making sure that the students that take that same class first semester as second semester have the same experience or access to the same experience with the same number of days of learning is very important. So that's why you see that we call out as close as we possibly can get to balance in semesters. Now, I'll warn you, some years that's not possible. And some years we run into just kind of a funny year where holidays seem to fall on odd days, and it's just a little tougher to make really solid decisions about the school calendar. But by and large, these have been the key points that have been discussed and considered. I'm going to open it up. I know we'll start first with maybe some of our returning members. If anybody has something in particular relative to our current school calendar model that was considered in putting together this recommendation, or that's a key point we wanted to make sure that maybe I've missed that we want to share with our team. So I'll pause a second.
Danielle, this is Ray.
Go ahead, Ray.
I'm trying to send this in the chat, but for some reason, maybe it's too wordy. But I just wanted to just remind everybody that we do try to avoid the very early days in August when the first semester will allow that due to the heat. But again, it really depends on how everything lands in December. And then, because we have to have so many days in every semester. And then we also have to be careful. Oh, there it finally went. We also have to be careful about Veterans Day, because I think we got into a little bit of a jam one year when Veterans Day landed on a weekend. We still have to provide a holiday, a day off.
Thank you very much for those points. Any other veteran members? And then I'll open it up to anyone else who wants to chime in, of course, too.
Ms. Ari, I would like to add to Ms. Conley's statement is and echo the observable holidays. Make sure that it's all inclusive. Maybe that be a question to our Diversity and Inclusion Committee to consider and send over their recommendation to the calendar committee to consider. Also, state mandates. I know that it's hard to keep track, full transparency of all the civics holidays and indigenous holidays and it's very difficult for me to keep track, and I don't even know where to begin, but that we consider state mandates as well. I will share, as a governing board member, during this time of uncertainty and academic progress, I have received a handful of parents from different areas of our district to consider two things. One, is there any conversations around the state school districts that are considering extending the school year and coming up with a 1, 2, 3 year calendar plan as it relates to academic remediation? Not that I agree or disagree, but it's something the calendar committee, I know you mentioned a policy of 180 days. That may be something that the board should consider if that were a recommendation by the committee. But I promised I would bring it to the powers of be, and here we are. So those are the three things that I have top of mind.
Thank you. And I only caught two things, just to make sure I have them captured for the minute. Holidays and checking in with diversity and inclusion and extending the school year. Was there a third I missed?
Well, and the state, if there are any state mandates like an Indigenous Day, things like that.
Thank you.
I can't keep up with them, so.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. Okay, very good. And that's a really interesting point. I'm so glad you brought up, because if you look under the column on the left, and I apologize, this might be tiny on your screen, but the holidays that we note and call out are the federal holidays that we are required to note. And so I believe this committee, and one of my fellow members that has joined us for some time can correct me, has long had discussion on holidays and which ones to include. And so because there are so many, and because there was challenges on how do we make sure we are as inclusive as possible, the committee has opted to let's follow what is law and what is federally mandated that we include, because there would be an awful, and only list those that are federally mandated that are actually a day off, that we are required to give a day off, versus listing holidays that might fall during our time or during our school, but that are not necessarily observed holidays that we have an actual day off. Now you'll see under the far left column though, something new that's added. And this is where I know our diversity inclusion committee, I think, is meeting next week, if I'm not mistaken. So it'd be great if they could get us your feedback that you suggested. It's wonderful for next week. But just last week, Governor Ducey actually proclaimed October 12th Indigenous Peoples Day. Now, that does not change the federal observance. So, excuse me, not the federal, the state observance as well, that is still Columbus Day as it should be listed, but he has also proclaimed that day to be Indigenous Peoples Day. So we did add that to the school calendar, but did not change the official date. Because officially with the state of Arizona, it is still called Columbus Day. So if there is a change at that, we will make sure we update the reference on any of those days. Thank you for the comment relative to the 180 days. And we can certainly discuss extending the school year and what that might mean or look like. I would just warn there's a financial impact to that, to the tune of a few $1 million for any additional days that it costs the district for any additional days that we add on. So just being mindful of that, and that's why we stick to that 180 days and cannot at this time, exceed those 180 days.
Definitely. And if that is something that the committee would like to survey parents to even consider going down that avenue, and then we could say we addressed it. If there is interest, then we bring in, my recommendation would bring in Ms. Myers and Dr. Reynolds to see if that's part of our holistic strategic plan.
Thank you. Anyone else have anything relative to this calendar? And so the second part is that this calendar was developed not just with all the things we've shared with you, but it was based on a survey. And so I have sent you the survey in its entirety, all the raw data for the survey. I'm gonna attempt to pull it up here and see if it will pull up on my screen for you all. Just making sure I'm finding the right one to share. Let's see, must be this one. Are you seeing that? I believe you are. So this is the calendar survey that you should have received. This was conducted in 2017 in preparation for the 3 years of calendars that committee did design and present to the governing board. I share it with you so that you could begin to review it, kind of see the questions that were asked and the feedback that we received, and kind of the pulse that our community had at that specific snapshot in time and how they felt about key concepts. I want to pay particular attention to question 3, and that was asking about, as I said, the key concepts that are really the essence of the calendar. So that might be an area for you to especially kind of hone in on. And are there key concepts on here that we need to be looking at? Maybe, you know, certainly that could be a place to add some type of an extended calendar, is to kind of, that's a concept in and of itself. Is that something that the committee should be looking at? And then the fall break one, question 4, as I alluded to, that has just always been a really key discussion point for this committee. And so that was certainly called out on, is that something a lot of school districts have, a fall break that falls, well, my child actually in another school district, his fall break is right now. So it is Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of this week. Some align that with that Columbus Day holiday in October. We have done that in the past as a district. Back before we had a fall break, and then the very first time we added one to our calendar, it was in October, and then our community gave us feedback about extending that in Thanksgiving to the Thanksgiving week. So you can see the at the time in 2017, that was an especially popular break for our community. And then if you need some light reading, it goes on to a number of comments on there, which I will not go through, for you all at this time. But that's how that committee was developed. My thought would be, and I'll pause again for feedback, is that you review that and maybe come with any suggestions or recommendations for our meeting next week, and that we spend some time determining what questions you'd like to have on that survey. Is it similar to what you've done in the past? Is there anything you want to add or change next week? And then that way I can get that out to our community in accordance with that timeline. Any thoughts relative to that at this time? Seeing none, I will move on to the last piece here. Item number 6, which is review our already approved 2021-22 school calendar. Let's see, this is taking me back to the beginning here. You've seen this. So this is the last calendar that was approved by our governing board in 2017. It is the 21-22 school year calendar. You can see it's very similar to the 2020-2021 calendar. So this is the piece I was discussing earlier that our governing board would review and ratify for next year so that we can accelerate our work on preparing for students to come back. Just wanted you to see that this is the last calendar that we have available for approval, making it so that we need to begin that 3-year cycle once again. Any questions or comments on this calendar before I move on to agenda item 7? Ray?
Danielle, I remember there was discussion about the parent-teacher conferences, and I thought we fixed it, but it still looks like parent-teacher conferences look like one day, but it's not really supposed to reflect that.
Thank you for that, Mrs. Connolly. So we have been correcting that each year when we bring the calendar forward for ratification. So very good memory on your part. So when we bring this forward for ratification to our board on that November 12th meeting, we would note the added day. That was the recommendation of that committee when they bring it forward for ratification. So we would add October 14th and February 17th. And make that update for our calendar.
Danielle, just on that note, if I can add, if we do that, if you put the 14th, then I already know we're gonna not have a lot of, like, if we could change that week to either the week before, so it lands, you know how we have Monday off like this one? It's hard to have kids come to school for 2 days and then the 2 half days where I know we already voted on that one, but I just think it should be moved to the week prior. The 7th and the 8th would be probably more conducive to our families too.
I think the only concern might be the number of days in the first quarter. So we would have to go through and count those days, but I can go through and just for the sake of time, unless someone wants to go through and do that right now, I can do that and bring that forward for our next meeting. Unless Ray already did that, and that's why her hand's up.
Sorry, I forgot to take it down.
Oh, that's okay. So really good point. I will.
Danielle.
Yes.
Well, I counted really quick, but it depends when the first quarter is supposed to end on this calendar. If you go through the 8th, that is 47 days in the first quarter, if I counted correctly.
And the reason they're discussing that, for those of you that might be new, is because the high school also has some classes that are 9-week courses that just like keeping those semesters balanced, we also do our best to keep the quarters as balanced as possible. So we would just want to make sure that we're not cutting 5 days, because that would move about 4 days off of that first quarter and push that back. So we'd want to be mindful of that. So might I make sure we've got the quarter counts correct and bring this forward as a discussion item for our next meeting? Would that work for everyone? Yes, okay. Thank you for bringing that up. Good, okay. All right, well then we will move on to agenda item number 7, and we were going to discuss, see, my screen's being a little finicky here. There we go. All right, it won't close this, but we'll just leave it like that. So agenda item number 7, discuss future meeting dates and times. We do have our next meeting scheduled for next Wednesday. Wanted to get some feedback from the group. Is our virtual meetings ideal for you, or are you preferring to meet in person? And does that date work, or are parent-teacher conferences a conflict? I'm seeing some preferences on virtual. Which is just fine. We can leave it up to you. Virtual works just as well, as long as no conflict either way. Anyone opposed to virtual? Maybe that is the better question to pose. right, not hearing or seeing that anybody is opposed to virtual. So we will keep that date of October 7th if we can do that virtual. There is nothing else on future meeting dates and times. I might ask, in accordance with the timeline, not just Wednesday, October 7th, was that other date to meet of October 21st? Just pulling that up to make sure I've got that right. Wednesday, October 21st. Does that date work for our team, giving us that week off for that survey? Okay. Very good. Not hearing that it does not work. So then I will move on to agenda item number 8. Are there any specific requests for future agenda items other than I did hear bringing forward the next calendar that will go for ratification for discussion on where parent-teacher conferences might fall. I am also hearing from our previous agenda item that surveying our community is something that you would like to proceed with. And so I am thinking a discussion around what should go on that survey. Is there anything else that might need to, that you would like to specifically discuss? Survey questions, let's see. Oh, I see a question regarding year-round school or year-round schedule. Is that a concept maybe that we want to ask in the survey? Thinking that would be good if that would fit Jill, unless you want a separate agenda item to discuss that. Would it be okay if we discuss that as part of the survey? Great. Any other specific agenda items other than we'll have to approve the minutes from this meeting? So Amanda's asking if we'll be providing suggested calendars with the semesters and days per semester shown. That is entirely up to you, Amanda. If that's something that you'd like to charge Erin and I with putting together, if you want us to provide sample calendars for you all to look at, so that we can then determine what to put on those surveys. That, or I'm not sure, Amanda, if you're asking if we'll provide sample calendars for the community survey. Is that what you mean?
I just meant for us to use when we're creating the calendars, just so we have an idea of how many days are in each semester. So when we look at where the breaks fall, we just have that visually in front of us.
Yes, thank you for that. Absolutely. Similar to the calendars that we just looked at. I can either, I feel a little funny unless you want me to, preparing those in advance of the survey. So we could do one of two things. I could either prepare those to bring to you at our next meeting just to take a look at what would calendars that follow our current calendars, our current model look like for those next 3 years, or I can wait until we get survey data and I can design models based on the data that we receive, but it's entirely up to you on what this committee prefers.
I think it's fine either way. If you want to wait till we get the survey data, that might be helpful, so you're not having to redo it after we get the data.
Okay. Very good. We will be sure to do that. And what I might do, just for the sake of the timeline that we have, and of course we can always add meetings if you'd like. I'm just trying to be respectful of your time. After we get the data, we can just design those quickly and bring the survey results and those I'm trying to read yours, sorry, Ray, the survey results as well as those models to that next meeting on the 21st. Would that be okay? To do that all at that meeting, and we can discuss, and from there, if we're seeing that there's some data that's making us feel torn, then we can we can schedule another meeting if we feel like we need one, unless through your discussion you're on the same page. Sounds like that works. Amy is asking, is it possible to give a good example of a year-round calendar option in the survey? I think we could certainly do that verbally, Amy. It would be really difficult to do a model kind of like the one that I showed you in advance unless we did that for every single concept. But I think we could kind of describe what that would mean or what that would look like for families so they could understand what we mean by year-round. Ray, did I answer your question?
It wasn't really a question, just noting my old notes.
Oh, okay, good. I'm glad you kept them. It was the quarter day balance. That's what I think what you were referencing. Yeah, that's why we put
going back and forth with days in the quarter and then days that added up for the semester, because we have to be very cognizant of that with the high schools.
And I thank you for keeping your notes, first of all. That's awesome. That might be one of those years that falls that it's just kind of a weird year or an unfortunate year that would fall all on that week. And it's almost like there's something each time we meet and design calendars and we put the three together, that there's one year that we're like, I really don't like this calendar quite as much as maybe another year just based on how the days fall. So I wonder if that was, one of those. Very good. All right. Any other agenda items that you want to make sure we consider for the next week? All right. Well, then we need actually the only motion for the entire meeting. The only voting item is that we adjourn, because that brings us to our last item on our agenda. It is 4:56 p.m. Would somebody make a motion for adjournment?
I'll motion that we adjourn. It's Julie.
Is there a second?
I'll second. This is Jill.
Okay. And all those in favor? You can signify by aye.
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 So funny on Teams. Any opposed? All right, then meeting adjourns at 4:56 p.m. Thank you all so much. We'll see you next Wednesday.